morning and welcome to Morning Coffee. I'm Keith Reynolds, host of Morning Coffee, with my lovely co-host, Charlene Chamberlain.
Good morning, Keith. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine.
This
Got my
is,
coffee, but I'm not going to promote anybody.
This is hump day, right?
This is hump day, absolutely. Getting over that hump in the week.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on, Char? What's new for Wednesday for Valentine's Week?
Here's my Valentine's tidbit. We know Valentine's Day is big, big, big business, and consumers will spend an average of $74 each on gifts, but the e-commerce retailers have told us that they expect to rack up $650 million in sales on food, candy, and flowers. Another $45 million of that will be spent on food, chocolate, and wine. But I question this, because what about the beer lovers? And right now, today, live, we have Gene Muller from Flying Fish Brewery to tell us all about the beer lovers.
Right, so today is actually Good Morning Beer instead of Good Morning Coffee.
Good morning beer,
Good
that's
morning,
right,
beer.
I like that.
Beer in your coffee mug.
Right. So Gene, you started Flying Fish Brewery in 1995, and you have a very interesting story because I recall that you told me that you actually built the brewery online first before actually bringing it to fruition.
Yeah, actually that's true. Back in 1995, people can't really imagine that now, but it was a time before there was Google, it was a time before there was spam.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people were on the internet.
Right.
And I started to learn about this thing called the web and realized that people who liked craft beer and people who were into tech were kind of a intertwined
Wow.
group. So
Okay.
we built this website, didn't have financing, didn't have a brewery, and created the world's first virtual microbrewery.
How long did it take you to do that?
About 4 or 5 months. And then it was kind of like This Old House meets the web. So it was
So
like
were there
building a brewery.
Plans online and everything?
Yeah, we asked people, give us ideas for beers, give us ideas, do you think it should be a 12-ounce bottle or a 22-ounce bottle, just things like that, and kind of engaging folks. And that got us a lot of publicity. At the time, even the major newspapers in the area didn't have the internet in their newsrooms.
Right.
So we were at my kitchen counter, and I was saying, this is what the internet is, and this is the Flying Fish website.
Wow.
That got the attention of a bank, that got the attention of some investors, and about a year later, we had a real brewery.
And it took about a year for you to actually construct it, or did you go into a building?
We went into a building, and it took about 6 months to get it all fit out, get everything done, and then there's a lot of licensing.
And where was that was your first location, right?
The original building was in Cherry Hill.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, it was it was about 10,000 square feet. We were there for 16 years. And then in 2000,
16
yeah,
years?
a long
Already.
time. And 2012, we bought a building in Summerdale.
Okay.
Interesting history. Originally, it was Superior Records.
Right.
They used to press all the Motown records there.
I know.
And now it was kind of a tired old building, so we totally restored that. It was 45,000 square feet. We have 5 acres and built a state-of-the-art brewery. It's all features a lot of sustainability. We have a whole 470 solar panels on the roof, which is about 10% of our electric.
Nice.
A lot of water-saving things, a lot of energy-saving measures. So it's, without good water and good air and good crops, you don't have good beer.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? That's what I wanted to talk about too. Like, it's called hops.
Mm-hmm.
Now you use that that's what's used in beer, right?
Beer has 4 main ingredients. So you have barley, you have hops, you have water, and you have yeast. Hops are a naturally occurring vine. You can find them in New Jersey. You can find them anywhere growing in the wild. But these are cultivated, and you get bitterness from hops, which is when you drink a beer, that quenching character. You get flavor. You get aroma. Hops do everything. It's like the spice of beer.
Do you bring hops in from other countries, or?
Most of ours the hops in the U.S. used to be grown in upstate New York until the 1950s, and then there was a fungal blight, and now it's all in the high desert of Oregon and Washington State.
Really?
So most of them come from there. We get some from Germany, we get some from England, we get some from Slovenia as well, but most of them are sourced in the U.S.
And is it shipped in dry?
What they do is they pick these flower cones and they pelletize them. It almost looks like
no kidding.
rabbit pellets.
Yeah.
And then they pack them under nitrogen, and you store them at 32 degrees because it's an agricultural product, so you
Yeah.
only get one crop a year, so you need to
Oh,
keep them
my.
fresh.
Wow.
And what is it, I mean, this is actually kind of, you soak them to get the flavor out?
You put them into the boil, and like I said, with spices, depending on what you're doing, just like when you're cooking with spices. So if you put hops in the beginning, you get more of that hop bitterness. If you put them in at the end, you get more of the flavor and aroma. And we actually put them in sometimes after the beer is done fermenting, and it infuses almost like a tea,
Oh,
and you get a
nice.
really nice, flavorful nose and aroma from the hops.
I mean, and I know this is gonna be a weird kind of, like, but I do pickling. And
Mhm.
it's similar to that, like where you're putting that seasoning in there and it gives that, it's breaking that flavor out depending on what the seasoning is when you
Yeah,
pickle.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Really neat stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the hops. It's really a flour then, right? Is it the hop flour?
It's a flower cone, and it has.
Like after the petals are gone?
It's a vine. It's pretty fascinating. On a nice sunny day, it'll grow. You can literally watch it grow. It'll grow a foot or two a day.
Wow.
They go about 35
Like a
feet tall
tree.
on a trellis.
Really?
Yeah. So they get these flower cones. It's actually a relative of marijuana, and
Well, that's why they grow it in Oregon,
That
okay?
But,
explains
Rest my
everything.
case.
but what we use it for, there's the alpha and beta acids that we
Right,
use.
Gene.
But there are natural sleep aids. People used to put hops in pillows as a natural sleep aid.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to try that.
Yeah.
Wow. I
That
never
could be an
knew that.
add-on to your business.
Well, actually, there's a hop shortage right now. There's so many
Uh-oh.
breweries opening up that it's nobody's going to use hops in pillows.
Okay. So like, okay, so you have hops, and then what is the other?
Barley.
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 So
Now, is that barley, like?
it's
Barley
a-
grass?
It's
Like barley grass?
Yeah, it's like the barley grain, but it's a high quality malting barley. And what they do is they malt it, so they put it into a big warehouse about yay deep, soak it till it starts to germinate, and then they kiln it. And there's all different kinds. It's just like roasting coffee. So the longer you kiln it, the higher the temperature, the different colors
Flavors.
and flavors come out of it. So
Does
you
that
get
make the color in the beer?
exactly.
Okay.
So we have one malt called a caramel malt that adds some caramel character to the beer, also adds some red color. We have a Belgian black chocolate malt that doesn't taste like chocolate, but when you brew the beer, it gives it a darker color, and it actually gives some chocolate, sometimes even some black cherry character to the beer.
Okay.
That does sound like tea, like messing with tea
It
a little,
does,
you know.
straining it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeast.
Yeast, which to me, my mind is the most important ingredient
Would
in
that be
beer.
brewer's yeast?
It's
Or
it's
is
a,
it like
a
brewer's
special
yeast?
strain of yeast. So we have 2 strains of yeast we use in our brewery. And the thing with yeast is it's a living organism, so it
Yes.
adapts to its environment. So we want to keep our consistency in the beer, so we use the yeast over and over again for up to a dozen generations. And it will give us that consistency. But yeast, if you change the fermentation 1 degree, it could give you different character to the beer, different flavor. So we really, that adds a lot. And it also adds a lot of flavor to beer. So we have our winter beer is called a Grand Cru. People drink it, you get nice banana, some people pick up clove. That's all from the yeast. There's no
Wow.
flavorings in the beer. So yeast really brings a lot to the beer.
Now, I dabble a little in the kitchen, so I do bake a little. Okay, now I know that when I dissolve yeast in the water, obviously I can't be too hot because it kills the yeast. Is it the same thing with beer? When you're doing beer, you can't have it?
Right, when we brew our beer, we boil it for about an hour. We then cool it down to about 70 degrees, and we ferment. We do all ales, so they're fermented at about 72 degrees, and then we drop it to 32, and that's when the yeast drops out, and then we capture that and use it in the next batch.
Wow, now also, when I add sugar to my yeast, the yeast feeds off sugar. Is this the same type of yeast?
Exact same thing, because we get sugar from the barley. There's enzymes in the barley that convert the starch to sugar, and then we brew with that. When we're
Nice.
done with the barley, we recycle it to local dairy farmers. I just did the numbers. Last year, we recycled over 2 million pounds of barley as high-quality cattle feed. So it helps.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I mean, our farmers need all the help they can
Sure
get,
they
and
do.
we
Absolutely.
don't want to put it in a landfill.
No.
So
That's a great give back.
Yeah.
It really is.
And back to the yeast is powdered, right?
Our
that
yeast
powder?
comes in a liquid
A
culture,
liquid.
and then we grow it up. Yeah, there
Okay.
are powdered yeast, but we get better control and consistency with the liquid.
Right.
But does it get, I mean, like yeast in baking gives you that
Rising,
air
the
and the
rise-
rising.
the rising,
Does it
yeah.
give you more volume in the liquid?
No, in brewing, the yeast will consume those sugars, and it gives off CO2, which we carbonate the beer with. It gives off alcohol, and then it gives off flavors.
Okay, so it's just used to, it works a little differently.
Right.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you basically have the same volume. It's just you've converted those sugars into alcohol.
And then there's water.
Water. And water, to my mind, is the most overrated ingredient.
Right.
I know some of the big breweries used to talk about their Rocky Mountain
Mountain
water.
water.
Water was important in the days when no one understood water chemistry. So, in Germany they brewed lagers because the water was soft. In England they brewed ales because the water was hard. Our water is neutral. We carbon filter it, and sometimes we'll add some gypsum or things to adjust it. But with modern water chemistry, as long as you can drink water out of the tap, you can brew with it.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what, for those mountain waters, like I'm a
Genesee.
fisherman.
Yeah.
And I know when I go up to upstate New York, you're not allowed to eat a lot of the water, and not eat a lot of the fish,
Fish
so
from the water.
how good is the water?
Right,
You know,
right.
you know?
Right.
I was really shocked last year when I got my fishing license for a couple days, and I went to go see what we could do, and it was like, you can't eat any of the fish.
So why are
All
you fishing?
mountain.
You have
Why
to
are
send
you-
it all back.
Yeah, but I mean, well, I'm a catch and release guy,
Right, me
but
too.
you know what? I sat there and I realized I was like talking about the mountain water and how clear it is. Well, how clear can it be, or how clean can it be if you
Clean.
can't eat?
Right, right.
Right.
You know, so kind of scary. But
I know.
anyway. So you know what we're gonna do? Let's go to a quick commercial break, and
then let's
we'll bring
look-
some beers on.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And you can talk about some beers and show us what the difference is.
That'd be great.
Thanks.
We'll be back in 90 seconds. All right. Let me adjust some things.
So, shall we, how do you want to do this?
Fast, 14 minutes.
I know, since we're taping.
Um,
I'm asking Keith what you want to do with that.
We invited women to bring their body washes to a spa and compare them to Dove body wash. This test paper shows just how different body washes can be. It amplifies how some can dry your skin more than others. Dove is different. Its breakthrough technology has a unique blend of gentle cleansers and nourishing Nutrient moisture. How soft does that feel? Dove Deeply Nourishing Body Wash. This is unique. This is different. This is care.
Let's meet the Glenn Kelly real estate team. And here's the quarterback, Glenn Kelly.
Oh, look. All right, guys, we're going to be very aggressive with our clients. We're going to give them the best service, the best marketing, and we're going to give them the highest value for their homes. Hike and sell this house.
Whether buying or selling, whether commercial or residential, no one can beat the Glenn Kelly real estate team.
He's my dad. And I have his eyes. I have his nose. I have his sense of humor. But now that he's getting older, how can I also have his back?
When the time comes to determine how you or your loved one will spend their later years in life, don't struggle. Solve it together. Visit Brookdale.com to customize your senior living solution today.
Choosing the right fence for your home or business is an important decision to make. Choose a Nello fence for peace of mind. Our family has manufactured and installed beautiful maintenance-free fence for over 50 years. We provide vinyl, aluminum, and wood fence in a wide variety of styles and colors, including chain link fence for commercial and residential. Call or visit our indoor showroom and ask for Steve Anello and see how 4 generations of combined experience mean that you'll get quality and service that can't be matched by any other fencing company, period. Call Anello Fence today for a free estimate.
We're back with Gene Muller of Flying Fish Brewery, and we're going to learn about some of his beer and taste it.
So this is the perfect thing to do in the morning. And actually at the brewery when we taste beer, we do it first thing in the morning or right before lunch because your palate is fresher. So it's really scientifically proven.
Okay.
So here I brought a few of our beers today. We do 6 beers year round. We also do 4 seasonals, and we do some special beers. So this is perhaps our flagship. This is a Hopfish India Pale Ale. English style India Pale Ale. So it has a little bit of hop character to it, a little bit of bite, but great with food. All our beers are designed to pair well with food. Really good with cheese. This just won a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival.
Congratulations.
And thanks. And yeah, it's become our biggest selling brand.
With cheese.
Yeah, beer and cheese. Beer and cheese are paired very well because they're similar. They're both made of grasses. They both go through fermentation.
Right.
They both go through aging. And you eat similar foods, whether it's crackers or breads or things like that. So beer and cheese actually pair better a lot of times than wine and cheese.
Oh, okay.
The carbonation in the beer, especially with a soft cheese, cleanses your palate, whereas the wine doesn't do that. So it really opens
Does
it
the wine
up.
just kind of lingers? Or?
Yeah, it doesn't. The carbonation actually scrubs some more of the aroma out of the cheese. So yeah, I love doing beer and cheese pairings. This is another one of our beers. We're a Jersey-centric brewery, so this is Exit 4. We did a series of beers honoring New Jersey through exits of the turnpike, how people know New Jersey.
Sure.
So Exit 4 is where we used to be, and this was a Belgian triple, very strong in alcohol, 9.5%.
Wow.
Regular beer is about 5%, but it doesn't taste like that. So the Belgians are very good at hiding it. But then we Americanized it and added a lot of hops to it. So it's very hoppy, but very rich beer. This also won a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival.
Wonderful.
And this is our newest beer. This is our newest Exit beer. They always come out in these champagne-sized bottles
And
to
what
start.
number is that? Exit 3.
This is Exit 3,
What's
which
Exit
is
3?
it's kind of our new Exit, but it's
it
near
is?
Runnymede.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
And
168.
it's
Okay,
kind of the
168.
gateway to a lot of farmland. So this has
Right.
blueberries from Hamilton as well as
Oh, very
honey
nice.
from South Jersey. Each we have a pound of blueberries for every 10 gallons of beer. It's not a blue beer. It's beautiful golden color with just a little bit of a hue of blueberries. This is what's called a braggot. It's a very rare style of beer. It was written about in the 12th century.
Braggot.
It's a cross between a mead, which is a honey
Oh,
wine,
I know what mead is.
and a beer. So
Right.
very low in hops. Very drinkable beer. It's also 15% alcohol. So
Wow.
this
Don't need too much
little
of that.
bottle is about a 6-pack of beer. So you have to
Wow.
be careful.
Now, is this close to I'll say a wine because it has a berry in
It's
it?
very close to a wine. Little to the sweeter side. Great with like a really aged cheddar. It's a great dessert beer. And with the big
Dessert
bottle,
beer.
it's a beer to share with people. It's obviously you're not going to sit there and drink that yourself.
Now, through the process of making the beer, blueberries are an antioxidant. I mean,
Yes.
very good for you. Through the process, do you lose any of that?
I don't know.
Okay.
And we're not allowed to make health claims anyway. So
Oh,
we haven't
okay,
really
yeah,
looked
yeah.
Come on,
into it.
Gene, beer is good for you.
Absolutely, beer
Beer
is
is
great
good
for you. So this is limited edition, and this just came out. And then I
that's
brought
great.
our Valentine's beer,
Oh,
which is
perfect.
Exit 1,
Where's Exit 1?
all the way at
That's
the
the
bottom
shore?
of the state.
Near
Yes,
the shore?
Delaware Memorial
Delaware
Bridge.
Bridge.
Oh, okay.
So this is another old style of beer. It's called an oyster stout. And
Interesting.
when we tell that to people, half the people are like, great, and the other half are like, oh, does
Ew,
it
I
taste
don't
like
like
oysters?
oysters.
Doesn't taste like oysters, but it's a style they used to make in England back in the 1700s when oysters were so plentiful, they would just put them on the bar as bar snacks. We work with the Partnership for the Delaware Estuary, and we got oysters. I would drive down in the morning, they would come off the boat, and we put one oyster per every 30 gallons of beer. What you get from that is some gypsum from the shell and then a little bit of the brine from the oyster. We then pull the oysters out after about 15 minutes, and they're great to eat. We were putting on pizza, we were eating them. It's our favorite beer to make. But it's a dark beer, but I tell people don't drink with your eyes. It's got a lot of flavor. It's great with oysters. It's great with chocolate, great with dessert. Really versatile beer. So why don't we try a little bit of that?
Okay, here we go.
We're going to try half selfish.
Oh, a little, ooh, just a little. Oh, look at the color of that. Is there a special way to drink beer, like, with the wine, you have to swirl it around?
Well, the first
look at
thing you
it?
do is, drinking beer is a lot more fun than drinking wine because you do
Of course
swirl
it
it
is.
around and you sniff it a little bit. And on this you'll get some chocolate
Oh,
notes.
that smells chocolatey.
You really don't get any brininess. You get a little bit of mineral character to
Sure.
it.
Can't drink it, but
No, that's okay.
interesting.
The next thing you do is you taste it and pick up swirl around your tongue, sides of your mouth. You get all the different characters. You get a lot of dryness from this beer.
That's
you get some of
very,
the
very,
richness.
it's dry to me.
But-
I'm not a big beer drinker, but it's a little dry, but I like that.
But the important thing with tasting beer is wine, whereas wine they spit it out.
I know.
Beer, because it's carbonated, you have to swallow it. It's called a trigeminal sensation, which is the back of your throat. So you need to swallow the beer so the carbonation can infuse all that aroma
And all the
up.
taste buds,
yes.
right.
So it's really, to taste beer correctly, you must swallow. You can't spit it out, which is, I think, is great.
This is very good. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.
So.
What do we have next to try?
We could try, well, do you want to go something a little hoppier, or would you go something a little sweeter?
Sweeter. Let's
Okay.
try the sweeter.
So this is Exit 4. This is a Belgian triple.
And this is sort of our exit.
This is my exit.
So in Belgium, there are 5 monasteries that make beer. They have a single, a double, and a triple. Each one is a little stronger in alcohol. And they used to make the beer to get through Lent, the 40 days of Lent. They would make bread and beer. And at 9.5% alcohol, I'm sure the 40 days went pretty quickly.
They have something to do.
It was great. At the old brewery, one of my favorite stories is someone came in and I was telling him this story, and he said, my uncle's in a monastery and they only make fruitcakes. And I'm like, oh, he joined the wrong order.
Right. And this is, oh, that's pretty.
That is a nice color.
Pretty golden.
Yeah, so this is
Exit 4.
Exit 4. Very light in color.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
Smells good.
Yeah, you get a lot of, there's a citrusy character from the hops. Some people get
Oh, that's
melon,
nice. Very
tangerine.
nice.
That's a great flavor.
Very nice.
I haven't drank.
I
that.
taste
don't know
fruit
how.
in here.
Yeah, that's from the hops.
Fruit.
And you get a little bit from the yeast as well. And then there's a nice sweetness to it, but then it finishes dry a little bit with the bitterness. So it's a really, what we like our beers to do is tell a story. So that's a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you get that aroma, you have that taste, and then the finish kind of lingers with you and makes you want to say, hey, let me have another one. Now, this is a really drinkable beer, and like I said,
Goes
it's
with
about
everything.
twice as strong
Yeah.
as, say, a regular mainstream beer.
We
So
definitely
it's,
need some steak and eggs for this
yes,
one.
yes. But again, this is great
This is
with
very tasty.
richer
It
foods,
is good.
like meats, richer cheeses, great dessert beer, pairs with anything sweet.
Gene, I think you're going to turn me into a beer drinker eventually.
That's my mission.
Wonderful.
Now, is there, as far as like, I noticed like you 9%, you said this is 13%?
15,
15%.
yes.
At some point, when I was drinking, 30 years ago, my beer, beer was only what, 6-7%?
Yeah,
Yeah.
5, 6.
So now,
Yeah.
I mean, is it kind of trending now to make more the higher?
Some folks are making stronger beers. We have a range. So, for example, our Extra Pale Ale, which is available at the baseball and football stadiums, and it's one of our popular beers, is about 4.5% alcohol, whereas your mainstream lagers, Bud Miller Coors, is about 5%. So it's a little lighter, more flavor. Our summer beer is 4.2%. Still has a lot of flavor, a lot less alcohol. So in the summer, you want to be able to have an extra beer if you're playing softball
Sure.
or mowing the lawn or just
And
hanging
enjoy
out.
it,
Yeah.
not be
Right.
totally wasted
Totally
from it.
wasted.
The winter, the beers are a little stronger just because you're in.
And your blood is different in the winter too, the way your body would absorb it.
You're inside more, you're a little more sedentary. This is a special beer. This is the highest we've ever done, and it's not really, it's kind of that you try it, you say, I've had that. That's not going to be, I hope that's not going to be
Oh,
somebody's
no.
everyday beer.
Well.
But, yeah, so we do a range because everyone's palate is different. You may perceive some things in this that I don't. I may perceive things that you don't. So we kind of make a range of beers. Like I said, pairing beer and food is a real big thing now.
Yes.
But when we started 19 years ago, it was kind of new.
Nobody was doing, they weren't
No.
even doing wine pairings back
No.
then.
As a young guy, you know what? You get your first big paycheck. You wanted a good beer and a steak.
Right.
Now I think beer, especially with your company, coming about. I mean, beer is different now. It is kind of pairing
Mhm.
foods.
Well,
and,
I think what's
you know,
happened
it's like-
with beer has become a gourmet beverage now, and I think
Right,
long
right,
ago,
exactly,
even when I
gourmet
was younger,
beverage.
we would just get a 6-pack of Budweiser
Lowbrow
or
or
Rolling
whatever
Rock
was
and a
cheap.
pizza,
Yeah.
whatever we
Yeah,
could
yeah.
afford, and that was our night.
Yeah.
But now, you know, that you can be a beer connoisseur, or is there a special name for it? Like with a, you know, a wine connoisseur, it's a sommelier, but is
They
there-
have, it's called a Cicerone. You can,
A
it's
Cicerone,
a
okay.
course of study you can take.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a great time for beer, and people think that, you know, craft beer is a new thing, but it's always been the history of our country. There are probably 3,500 breweries in the country now. We had that many back in the 1800s.
3,500 breweries.
In 1900, there were 100 breweries in the city of Philadelphia alone.
Wow.
And there were 50 in the state of New Jersey. And that was because there wasn't refrigeration, so the brewery had to
People were
be
making their own.
within a wagon ride
Oh.
of the final destination.
Right. Which
But
would have been a tavern.
yes,
or an inn.
yeah.
Right.
So, you know, our history has always been small local breweries, and we're just getting back to that. I think people are getting into where's their food coming from, who's growing it,
Yes.
who's roasting the coffee, and this kind of fits into that whole thing.
Yeah, and you know, and that was my next big question. You know, I got a lot of buddies that were in the military over in Germany. They drink their beer
Mhm.
warm. I mean, we obviously in America drink our beers a lot colder. But I mean, what's a good temperature to drink a beer?
I like drinking beer starting around 45 degrees because it gives it a little time to warm up. If you drink the beer too cold, you can't taste anything.
Mhm.
So, you know, some of the big folks advertise their beer as frost brewed or served below freezing. All you're getting is cold, flavorless alcohol. You know,
Right.
it's not really, you're not sipping it, enjoying it. Beers like this, you need to open up a little bit. You get more of the flavor.
Like wine.
Yeah, exactly. And as it warms up, you get to the point where if it's too warm, you don't want to drink it. But
Right.
if you start at about 45 degrees, it'll slowly open up.
Okay. Awesome.
Gene, where can our viewers find you?
We are in Summerdale, and we're right off of Route 30. We have a tasting room now that we're open Wednesday to Sunday.
Well, talk about the tasting room. What happens in the tasting room?
In the tasting room, we do tours. We, again, I was talking about sustainability, so we have reclaimed, we had an old water tower on the corner of the property for the sprinkler system that was falling down, so we reclaimed all that wood, made all the tables out of it.
Very nice.
Everything is pretty much recycled in there.
That's wonderful. I like that.
And we got the law changed in New Jersey about 2 years ago, so now you can come in, we give you a tour, you can buy samples of beer, you can buy bigger glasses of beer, you can buy beer to go, we have the t-shirts, all that great stuff. And
Is that called fishware? Is that what
yes,
you call it?
yes.
Fishware.
And then we also do special things on Wednesdays and Thursdays. We'll tap special beers. You were talking with warm beer. We'll do what's called a English firkin, where we actually put it on the bar. It's served almost at room temperature. It's lower carbonation, and it's a historic kind of beer. Some people like that, so we just make it fun for people.
Right.
And yeah, so we're there Wednesday to Sunday. We have a nice outdoor seating area. If it ever warms up, we'll be able to use that.
Soon, I hope.
And yeah, we love to take people through. We get a lot of folks from out of state because we're right off the interstate there,
Yeah.
and a lot of visitors, and
great.
it's fun.
Okay.
Do you have a web address?
We
Can
are
you
at
share?
flyingfish.com, and yeah, we have Facebook and Twitter and all the usual interweb stuff. But yeah, if you start at flyingfish.com, we have a newsletter that goes out. We don't overwhelm you with information, but it keeps you up to speed with the events going
Like
on.
what's happening at the brewery?
At the brewery, and we're super local, so all our beer is sold within 100 miles of the brewery. So we're in New Jersey. We're not even in New York.
Are you in Delaware?
We're in Delaware. We're in Maryland. We're in DC.
Some of the stores where our viewers might be able to find you. Can you name them?
Every time I do that, then someone
You'll
says
miss
you
someone?
forgot me.
Okay.
But any store that really in our area that carries better beer would have it.
Okay.
And if they don't, please ask for it, because
Okay.
that's the biggest thing is when
Yeah.
a customer goes, we can go to a store and say, this is a great beer, it won a gold medal, and it's not the same as a customer with money in their pocket saying, hey,
Right.
get that beer in.
Right.
So, and again, as a local business, we rely on our local fans and supporters.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Well, I think we've all become beer fans of Flying Fish today, don't you, Keith?
Yes, absolutely.
My work is done
absolutely.
here.
Yes, happy Valentine's
Thanks.
Day,
Yep.
everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Gene.
All right, we'll be back in 90 seconds with our next guest, and that is going to be,
Arm and alarm yourself, how to
Okay.
protect yourself and your family.
that's right, for your loved ones on Valentine's Week. We'll be right back. Thank you.